Hey everyone, I've got great news. The world is a very interesting place. So if you haven't lived under a rock on the moon for the past few forevers, you probably know that Florida is a pretty fucking weird place. So I've went to Reddit and I pulled some headlines from the past week just to remind you of the strange things that go on over there. Florida man assaults mother in a dispute over a cheeseburger. Is arrested. Florida man exposes himself to highway drivers. Swings knife at cops. Florida man steals $246 worth of steaks. Runs into woods to escape Publix employee. And my personal favorite. Florida man brings a knife to a gunfight and wins. That's a bit odd, isn't it? That is really peak weird. A place very similar to Florida in that regard is Russia. The greatest country on earth by size has, well, you know the just gigantic amount of Russia montages that are on the internet. Fucking Estonia literally has a TV channel dedicated to showing them 24/7. That is a real thing that exists. But why? What is it about these two places that makes them such weirdness magnets? What sets them apart from the world that ensures that all these things happen there? Why is life in Florida, of all places, so bloody interesting? Well, there are a few reasons why a few more weird things will happen in Florida. For one, it's pretty warm, so there's a lot of homeless people there because you don't want to be homeless in Minnesota because it's, cold. And as we all know, a lot of homeless people are insane, which is probably the reason why they're homeless in the first place. That's a huge problem. But let's keep this lighthearted for a change. This video, eh?
They got the fire down below. Look out, Joe. I swear.
The weather is a huge draw for everyone, actually. So it's not just homeless people that there's more of, but just people that there's more of. So while it's still a disproportionate number of homeless people, but Florida is very densely populated, which of course increases the weirdness potential, if you will. But the primary reason why more bizarre shit happens in Florida than anywhere else in the world is that it's just not that much more bizarre shit happening in Florida than anywhere else in the world. And there's probably a little more because of the aforementioned factors, but the real reason is that we read about it more because of something called the Sunshine Law, which is a law that Florida has, and it's in my opinion, exemplary way of dealing with information. Essentially, in Florida, everything that isn't specifically classified by state law is public record. And that includes the vast majority of police reports. So essentially, you have a bunch of journalists just sitting all day in the building where you would pull such public records from. I don't know what that is. I'm not a journalist. And they scour those records for absurd incidents because frankly they're entertaining as fuck. And they're gonna sell copies and generate clicks. We have a comparable situation going on in Russia, where because of the huge amount of insurance scams that go on, a lot of people have installed dash cams in their automobiles, right? So because it's difficult to tamper with footage in a way that it can't be detected, so the courts love that shit, right? It ensures that insurance companies don't have to pay for faulty claims, and it also ensures that if you're a person who gets fucked in an accident, the insurance company can't fuck you again by using some bullshit reason, standard of evidence to just not pay you. Of course, there are still some cultural differences going on in Russia with the rest of the world, but at the end of the day, they're still just people, right? It's the dash cams that really make the difference here, and I'd be willing to wager significant sums of dinero that any country in the world, if dash cams became as widespread as they are in Russia, we would see a massive increase of just bizarre and fantastic headlines immediately. And Keck, I do hope that happens. If just all the countries in the world could have dash cams everywhere, and public access laws like Florida does, and maybe also have dash cams in police cars and the public record laws like Florida, I mean, that would just be dope. Because there's nothing about Russia or Florida that makes them inherently crazier places than the rest of the world, right? It's just, we have a bigger window into those places. We can see more weird shit going on. It's two parts of the huge petri dish that is the human experiment, and there's a big old microscope on those parts. And what we can see is that humans are a bizarre species. If you live in a city with more than 10,000 inhabitants, there's a very good chance that something weird Florida Man headline worthy is happening in your city right now. And if you live somewhere in the nothings, with the mountains and the bears and the tigers and the lions, probably some weird's gonna happen in the next month, because insanity does not shun nature, and there's a lot of crazy people also in nature, which you might know if you live in one of those places.
Those men were charged by me right back by staging an overthrow of the Constitution of 1789, an overthrow of the Bill of Rights, an overthrow of my rights to forage for food as a natural living person who was in hunger.
Do you realize what this means? Right? This means that the entire planet is just a gloriously interesting place, right? This boredom of the normal everyday trot is just a facade for a cornucopia of just bizarre stories that hide behind it. Imagine for a moment if all countries, or at least more countries, had dash cams and a bigger window like Florida and Russia do, right? Imagine all the flavors of crazy that we could get access to, all the insane stories we could witness firsthand. Wouldn't that be amazing? Honestly, I think that with the inevitable rise of open information and people having cameras everywhere in their pockets, and everyone wanting to make them world star dollars, and also the sheer fucking magnitude of the human weirdness potential, we're in for some amazing headlines over the coming decades, believe you me. That's of course in addition to all the, transparent government and accountability of the powerful stuff, but I mean, come on. Who cares about that, really? Honestly, if you can have weird shit. I mean, if you were given the choice between weird shit and of course, it's not really a choice, is it? You get both. It's a package deal. But really, what you want to see is the weird stuff, innit? It is actually going to be great. Thank you all for watching. I'm assuming this isn't your first day on YouTube, so you know what to do if you like my shit and want to see more of it. I've been in touch with some people. Maybe there's going to be a stream soon-ish. I don't know. It's all very unformed at this point. It's just, yeah, let's have a stream sometime, and yeah, that's really the point where we're at. But I'm just letting you know that there is something somewhat planned, and I'll keep you posted on that. This might also be the video that breaks me 100 subs, which amazing, right? I don't even know. You first 100 will always have a special place in my heart, as I soar to the great heights of maybe 150 and then inevitably peak and then have a very slow decline of bleeding viewership because everyone is bored with my repetitive bollocks. So yeah, fuck off, cunts.
Блять.